back in Pawtucket at what is likely going to be our last poll stop of the day, but it's one of the most important. Um, I'm speaking with Kimberly DeCoupe. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay. Who is running, and we're here to talk about the candidate, but I'm just going to say that the current occupant of the office that she's running, as the great movie The Blind Side said, it's time for her to go home. All right. It really is. And we'll get into that more. But Kimberly has run an aggressive campaign. It's been an campaign filled with information for the voters. And we admire that. We respect that. We embrace that here at the coalition because it's there's just too much emotion. There's too much faked outrage out there in the polling place these days. And the city of Pawtucket has been just so underserved at so many different levels, both at the local municipal level as well as the state level. There are all sorts of projects and scams and grifts and things taking place in the city of Pawtucket. And someone needs to be a clear voice for the voter. Kimberly, first of all, congratulations on a great race.
Thank you.
No, it's your performance in your debate with your opponent was remarkable. The fact that, as if I remember correctly, she decided to leave the room,
I know.
which
Simple, but
that no, that's a great word for it. That's a perfect word for it. And again, I'm not asking you to engage in this kind of rhetoric, but it is shameful because voters deserve information.
it was only one debate, so
And you know what? I haven't seen a lot of primary General Assembly debates at all. So again, kudos to you for bringing the facts to the table and being willing to engage, despite the fact that you're relatively new to electoral politics, right?
yeah. I've been doing
A little louder.
local politics for several years. Definitely not as long as some other folks here,
Right.
but yeah.
So no, that's great. So how's the campaign going?
I think it's going great. I mean, we went hard under doors. We've called a lot of people. We've had a lot of volunteers. So I think our campaign has a lot of energy. I'm feeling pretty good tonight.
Excellent, excellent. What's your takeaway from your experience with the people in Pawtucket? What are they looking for, or what are they frustrated about?
The first thing I'll say is most people in Pawtucket are politically dejected. So a lot of them don't believe that politics can work for them and that politics can deliver. Oftentimes what you hear on the doors is, yeah, I want, affordable housing. I want universal health care. I want all these things, but I don't believe that you will deliver it, because the system is so corrupt that I just don't believe anymore. And so you have to run against that idea. And that's part of the reason I'm running such an aggressive campaign, because you need to prove to people that you are ready to fight. Right. That's not just like I'm here saying something beautiful for me. That's it.
Right. Elect me and I'll see you in 2 years.
Right. Exactly.
And then I'll say the same things all over again.
Right.
Do folks in Pawtucket? Let's talk about the stadium for a second.
Yep.
Your thoughts on the stadium du jour? This is what the third stadium that they're trying to.
I'm against the stadium because it is corporate welfare. I mean, we're giving a lot of money to fortuitous partners. I think it's like 60 million and above. The city of Pawtucket has already signed up to give $10 million, which they haven't said where that's coming from, but we know, because we know the way politics works, they're going to raise the property taxes. And we're looking at a situation where we could, blow a hole through the budget for what? So that fortuitous partners gets millions of our taxpayer dollars. If we want to invest and we want to develop the city, we have a ton of small businesses that we can help expand, create jobs. We could do that. We could create jobs fixing our infrastructure. If you want to talk about investments, we know that when you invest $1 in education, you get $2 back. Those are safe investments. Those are things that help people here.
When you go down, I call it the Pawtucket Trail of Tears, Memorial Hospital, the GAM Theater, just to begin a few. All that's been lost while the eye has been on the ball of trying to find some silver bullet. To us editorially at the coalition, we find that particularly frustrating. So I'm going to ask you a question. I've asked other candidates.
Yep.
Who is economic development intended for? Is it the folks who live here now, in some cases generations of Pawtucket residents, or the people that they would like to replace us with?
The people that they would like to replace. That's why they don't care that the rents are very high, because they know that you can't afford it and they want you out, because what they're thinking is we want more upper class people here because that's a bigger tax base. That's what they're thinking. They're not thinking about how do we organically, right, invest in a city and help develop a city. They always want, like you said, the magic bullet. We've heard this story before of like, if we want to develop something, then what we got to do is stuff millions of our dollars into whatever developer comes that promises us that they're going to develop, and it always ends up being, you know, a scam. When we could do the safe investments that we know will help the city, investing in the small businesses that already are here, that's key right there, because those people live in the city. That money is going to stay here. When you give money to these developers that don't come from Rhode Island, you know where you're sending that money to their state.
On a statewide issue, this Friday, the Public Utilities Commission is going to be holding a meeting. The coalition was videotaped and attended a meeting last week at one of the great Pawtucket human rights organizations. Of course, I'm talking about the George Wiley Center.
Yep.
Your thoughts on that in light of the millions of dollars that are going to, well, everything else?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you get when you run utilities for profit. I personally support running utilities through the community. So people get to vote and they get to decide on the rates. So what you don't get, right now what's happening is they're going to raise those rates because they want more money. I mean, these people want their fifth mansion, you know, their private jet, and that's why they're going to raise those rates. But if we had control over that, we're not going to be, you know, raising our own rates by 100% so that somebody can have a mansion. We can collectively do this. That's the way utilities should work, because everyone needs utilities. We're talking about resources that everyone needs. You need electricity at your house, right? So why don't we all come together to set these rates?
Largely that issue, and I'll say if it wasn't for Peter Nightingale's Poor People's Campaign, if it wasn't for the George Wiley Center, that issue, because of all the politics and the chaos that's going on in the state right now, has largely been overlooked.
Yeah.
We understand that people on a Friday morning at 9 o'clock can't necessarily go.
I know.
But how important is it, both in voting for people who support the people's right to have a say in their utility bills, and additionally, at this point, particularly say tomorrow morning when the smoke clears from tonight, people get a little rest. How important is it for people to reach out to the Public Utility Commission this week and express, maybe not so politely, their displeasure?
No, I've always said that politics is more than just voting for your favorite candidate. Like, yes, I want y'all to come out and vote for me, but we're not going to build a better world if you think the only thing you have to do is vote for the candidate. Like, you have to actually put your voice out there. You have to engage in the community so you can shape what your community looks like. That's politics.
Right. We'll be sharing, folks. If you're listening to this live, we are the coalition. We're with Kimberly DeCoupe. We are at the, where are we at?
Fallon Memorial.
Fallon Memorial. I'm sorry. This is my multiple stops. You sort of lose track of where you are. But we're going to be sharing the information, how to folks to reach out and touch, if you will, the Public Utility Commission, as well as the people who control it, including the governor's office. The governor has made a lot of noise about how he's a fighter when it comes to utility rates, but yet we have heard nothing about this week's meeting.
Where does this money come from? Take a look at who the governor takes money from. Whenever a politician tells you that they believe in something, go to opensecrets.com and see who's giving them money. They'll let you know exactly what you need to know.
And that was one of the remarkable side effects of your debate appearance, because you took the receipts to Ms. Messier as to where she was getting campaign contributions from, none of which speak to a real desire to help regular folks in a working class mill town that is an amazing place. I've always said Pawtucket's got the bones to be literally the Brooklyn, the infinitely cooler Brooklyn to the tourist trap Manhattan, right?
Pawtucket's a great place and has a really strong history of people standing up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've gotten some of the first strikes in the U.S. were here, Pawtucket, women striking, young women. We're not talking, you know, like the typical person who tends to come out to vote. We're talking about 18-year-old women who were striking, you know, back like 100 years ago. So Pawtucket has a very interesting history. I think we should remember that history and stand up for ourselves again. The corporations and very wealthy individuals have come in and they do dominate politics. And that's why we have Democrats who
Joe Palino.
right. Joe Palino, who's been trying to get rid of homeless people as opposed to housing them, which has always been the better solution. We know that when we leave homeless people on the street, that's more expensive for the city, meaning you're going to pay more taxes for that, as opposed to if we just built a home and put that person in there.
Do you feel that Rhode Island effectively criminalizes poverty?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, look at the traffic camera situation, right?
Mhm.
If you're too poor to pay your $20, right? It doubles. It keeps doubling, doubling, doubling. So you're paying like $200. Who's that helping? That's not helping people who are working class. We know there's inflation. You're paying way more for your food, gas, your rent, definitely. So why are we attempting to take more money from folks, right? If we wanted folks to slow down on the street, put a speed bump. That's way cheaper, and that doesn't hit people's pockets the way these traffic cameras are.
Right. Oh, I hear you. Well, listen, thanks for joining me tonight. Nothing but the best luck tonight. I don't live in Pawtucket. I've met a lot of people today, a lot of candidates, and I've met throughout the race that I wish I could just move from town to 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 vote for. It's frustrating. But best of luck. And again, no, listen. Your spirit is real. It's in terms of as supporting the community you live in. Oh, gotta wave to people. Vote for her.
Hello, Kimberly the
But in terms of the spirit, I will tell you that running for political office is real sacrifice, real commitment. And, it's easy to say, walk the walk, talk the talk, but running for public office, particularly in a state as fractious as Rhode Island, is a commitment that I think we all appreciate. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming.